Hey guys, we are back. Today we're looking at the value chassis from Corsair. This is part of the Carbide series, the 300R. Now Corsair has given a stab at sort of budget cases in the past with the 400 and 500R, which still holds strong ground to similarly priced competitors. And the 300R breaks the lowest price point we've seen so far from Corsair. However, the major concern with this breakthrough is if the company managed to deliver to price-conscious consumers without too many compromises. And first impressions on build quality were a little disappointing. And that's because the case feels a bit flimsy and it's a relatively light enclosure, which is a first coming from Corsair. The front panel connectors are kept to a minimum in an easy to reach spot with your power and reset buttons, audio jacks that are not colored, which we really like, and two USB 3 ports that connect through an internal 20-pin cable, and unfortunately no adapters included. Below that we have three optical drive bays that are removable from within the case, and our usual intake for airflow with additional venting on each side of the panel. The panel can be taken off, which is secured by these metal clips, and Corsair includes a 140mm fan with support for an optional secondary fan intake. Now check this out, the side venting on the panel have removable dust filters, but unfortunately the main front dust filter is non-removable. And taking a look at the back, we have our usual exhaust, I/O slot, water cooling holes without the rubber grommets, 7 PCI slots, a little more venting, and a bottom mounted power supply with a removable filter. And the chassis is elevated by large case feet to allow ventilation for that power supply. The top panel can house dual fans, which is a big plus for heat exhaust, but there is no dust cover, which makes it prone to dust collection when the computer is powered off. The side panel can mount dual fans that sit directly above your graphics card for that extra overclock, and so far no windowed version is available. And coming back on the topic of compromises, the side panel feels cheap and flimsy, which doesn't reflect Corsair's usual standard. So let's get inside. First we have three toolless optical bay mounts, below which an empty compartment that squeezes in that extra airflow, and a hard drive cage with four toolless brackets that are also SSD compatible. Now the side walls seem to have the same mounting for the drives, meaning a potential release of the same chassis with more storage options, but it would be nice if Corsair offered the other wall as part of the accessories. Unfortunately, there is no bottom intake cutout, and the power supply is elevated but not on rubber grommets, which may cause unwanted noise from the power supply. The case supports ATX and micro ATX motherboards, and as we have seen the absence of rubber grommets in this case, the cable cutouts around the motherboard tray are bare, which is a first coming from Corsair, who initially implemented the whole idea of grommets. And at the back of the case, there's just under an inch of room to work with for all your cable needs, and no issues for passing them through the cutouts. The CPU cutout is fairly large and should have no issues with support for many motherboards. And also another great thing to note are all the front panel connectors are in black, which is perfect for making a tidy interior. Now one issue we did come across during assembly is the length of the front panel audio connector. Obviously this would depend on your motherboard, but it did not have enough reach to pass through the very bottom cutout. Another option Corsair suggests is to use the cutout closer to the back, but in this case the power supply did not align with the mounting holes, and in the end the audio cable was left unused. And continuing with the assembly, the toolless drive mount has become the standard, which makes installation and swapping drives a breeze. And let's check out the back. The 300R cleans up with literally minimal efforts, under 5 minutes spent plugging and tucking away the cables, which would make even the beginners enjoy the process of cable management. And as you can see, graphics cards in length up to 450mm are supported, thanks to the breathing room above the hard drive cage. And in case you're going for a multi-GPU build, about 11.7 inches is available, which should be plenty for most of the current high-end graphics cards. So let's recap the new addition to the Carbide series. First off, this value chassis brings to the table many practical and future-proof functions like USB 3 support, 4 drives for storage, a relatively small enclosure that supports extremely long graphics cards with excellent cable management that doesn't project what Corsair is capable of, but it does the job, and the entire package for around $80 that many people would consider within budget for a value build. Unfortunately, Corsair is not capable of keeping up with its own quality standard when they try to cover a larger market, and the degraded build quality is definitely felt on a 300R. If you really want that Corsair experience while working with a chassis, you might want to consider the earlier lineup of the Carbide series. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you next one.